All right, welcome back to Pine Tree State Restorations and the Lionel 445 operating switch tower. Now, I had a customer drop this off, and it had some minor issues, but it didn't work at all because there was a couple of cold solder joints. The bulb was burned out. We had some corrosion. Let me show you what's going on in here. Down inside here, see that light bulb down there? Okay, that grounds out on those little clips, because the center conductor of the bulb is the hot wire, and then you got the ground goes on that chassis there. And then you got three contacts down in there that go through a post, goes all the way through down to the bottom of the clips. Well, what was going on was this one here had a cold solder joint, so I hit that real quick, and that's for the light. And then there was a cold solder joint right there where the two wires connect that I don't know, apparently the factory didn't solder it very good. And of course, there was some corrosion in there, and I cleaned it up pretty good, and I put some deoxit on it. And this little arm here there's a rod that goes through that field coil, and there's like four places where this rod pivots on that shaft right there, down there, and then there's another one on the rod. You want to get a drop of synthetic oil on those. And I also wipe down the connectors with some deoxit so they won't corrode anymore. Now, this toy, this is a Lionel. Lionel started business in 1900. Joshua Lionel Cohen founded it, and they started building toy trains. This particular toy here was in the 1952 Lionel catalog as a prototype, but it was not available for sale until 1953. And they built and sold this from 53 to 57. And it uses a 145C contactor, which is basically a switch on the track, so that when the train comes by, it pushes down on the contactor, closes a connection, makes a circuit, and then this gentleman here goes inside, and this gentleman here comes down the steps to greet the train. Then, of course, it lights up on the inside. Now, some of the early ones had issues where the field coil inside, the rod that goes in there was too short. That would cause overheating, and it would actually melt the tip of the roof on the underside. You'll see some where this is melted. That's from the heat from that field coil. So when you buy one of these, make sure that is not melted, because that's been overheating. Now, they fixed it later by making the rod a little bit longer for the coil, and then it won't overheat, because without the rod, all that energy is going in there and it's causing a lot of heat. So this one here is in really good shape, except for the bulb, GE53 pin type bulb, burned out. The bulb socket was crusty, okay? And the ground connection was crusty. I got that all dialed in. And of course, lubrication and a couple of cold solder joints. And that's basically from age, been sitting around forever and not being used. He wants to use this. It's going to be great because he has a lot of cool toys like this. I love fixing these train toys. They're just an absolute blast to work on. And so besides that, when you buy one, make sure it doesn't have the melted roof, because it likes to melt right there on the tip. I've seen them. Make sure none of the windows are broken out, because they're frosted windows. This one here is in excellent condition. It even has the original box. And let's give this a try. Put the roof back on. Well, wait a minute. We'll leave the roof off first. We'll give this a try. Turn it on. You can see the light comes on right there. And then we'll give it a try on the inside so you can see how this works. See how that moves? And then it retracts. Okay? The guy goes in, and the other guy comes down the steps to meet the train. Put the lid back on. We'll try it in the dark. Okay. There's the old train station in the dark. He comes down. He goes in. The Lionel 445. Pretty cool. 1953, 1957. Like I said, it was in the catalog in 52, but it wasn't for sale until 53. It's just a cool toy. I mean, it's just neat. Yep. So he'll be happy with that. It didn't take me too long. Took me about an hour, hour and a half. I'm not going to charge him much. It was a lot of fun. I had to clean those windows. Everything had to be cleaned up. The outside needs cleaning, a good dusting, but I'm going to let him do that. He's not going to pay me for that. I would just take the lid here and wash it gently in the sink and then dry it off. And then I've cleaned the inside. So basically all you got to do is just gently clean the outside, some Q-tips, some Windex, get all the dirt out of the cracks here. And she should be good to go. Now, another problem these had is where the guy comes down the steps, there's a string goes through there like that. Well, after a long period of use, that string cuts a groove in the plastic. And then what happens is the guy won't come down right. The string will get caught in the groove. So what you do is you take the string off right here. You're going to have to unstring it, which is kind of a pain. And you drill a hole, a little bit larger hole, and you put a tiny brass ring in there, a little ferrule, a little porthole, a little tiny brass ring. Can't remember what they call them, but it's a little tiny piece of brass, and it's got a lip on both sides. Or anything basically that's metal, like a little tiny excursion. You're going to put that in that hole, and instead of riding on that plastic, it'll ride on that brass, and it won't have the problem. Now, this one here hasn't been used much, so the string hasn't cut into that. What I like to do is I'll take a brush and I put a little light grease on that string and then kind of wipe it off so there's a tiny bit of lubrication on there, and that'll save it for a very long time. But eventually, you'll have to put a little brass ring in there for that to come down the steps, because every time you run this, it goes down. See how I'd like to, sometimes it'll hang up. Okay, this guy's going all the way down like he should, but sometimes you'll get down to the bottom and you won't go all the way. That's because there's wear in that hole. That's something else you got to be aware of, but it's an easy fix. You can take this off. This little roof comes off. You can see everything kind of snapped together. That if you're careful, you can take that off and you can put that piece in there. You don't really have to take it off. You can work through this side, but you got to restring it, which is kind of a pain, but it can be done. So that is the 445. And also, someone dropped off an antique microphone today. Boy, that's an oldie. She needs a lot of work. Guess we're going to be looking at that down the road. But thanks for watching Pine Tree State Restorations. I love these old train toys. And I hope this helped you out. A little bit of history, what to watch out for if you buy one. And coming up next weekend, probably going to be the 10 Tech Triton 2 or that microphone. There'll be something. But thanks again for watching Pine Tree State Restorations, and we will see you soon.